there, warm welcome. You're watching Blueprint Explosive Exclusive and I'm Meghna Deka. Well, right now we are going to be talking about Trump's tariff bomb. Yes, that's right. I call it a bomb because just 2 days ahead of the deadline coming to an end, which was 1st of August, he's declared that India is now going to face 25+% tariff when it exports its goods to US. And what's worse, he mentions a penalty as well. Well, this is a major escalation in the tariff war that we have been seeing brewing for the last few months. Donald Trump, of course, had announced that its friend, India, will be paying a 25% tariff from 1st of August. He's also noted and said that New Delhi will have to pay an additional penalty due to its oil and military purchase from Russia in the face of the ongoing war in Ukraine. In a post on Truth Social, Trump noted that despite being friends, India and US have done relatively little business. The US president also added, and you can see his quotes there on your screens, he's added saying, they also have always bought a vast majority of their military equipment from Russia and are Russia's largest buyer of energy along with China, and this at a time when everyone wants Russia to stop the killing at Ukraine. All things not good, says Trump. He goes on to say, India will therefore be paying a tariff of 25% plus a penalty for the above. This, he says, will start from the 1st of August. Of course, he ended with his, well, iconic, we would say, but now it almost seems like a threat. His signature lead out, which says, thank you for your attention to this matter. MAGA and MAGA at the end of his tweet that really sums up this crackdown that we have seen on Trump's end. Let me go across to Hina Gambhir. Hina, what was the rush? 1st of August, there have been 4 or was it 5 rounds of delegation level talks. We have Piyush Goyal, our minister who's there, gone there several times, negotiating the talks. 2 days before the deadline, suddenly Trump decides to put tariff on its friend India. Why?
Well, Meghna, it seems as we've been speaking to several experts on this particular statement by Donald Trump, and it seems that, this is nothing but a bullying tactic by the American president to coerce India into finalizing a trade deal that's perhaps going to benefit America more than India. Because like you correctly spotted, at the end of his post, he mentions MAGA, Make America Great Again. That's his only agenda right now. And the point is that he's not been able to stop any war, so he's not been able to get any achievement in his kitty so far. So he's looking to punish countries. Now, in his very harshly worded post, he has said 2 important things. Of course, he's called India a friend again, but this is not what you do with your friends. He said India is going to face a tariff of 25% plus a penalty of doing business with Russia. Now, let's tell our viewers why this point is extremely important and why it may actually hurt India. Because our dependence on Russia for energy requirement has gone up significantly in the last few years. For example, in 2021-22, 2.1% was Russia's share in overall oil imports for India. It has gone up from 2.1%, Meghna, to 35% in 2024 and 2025. We have to see our national interest, and if it is cheaper, the oil that we are getting from Russia, why should we not buy it? Why is Donald Trump trying to put pressure like this on India? And also very important point, Meghna, here is now this has come just 48 hours before that deadline, which Donald Trump himself had said in the past that it's not a hard deadline. It's not a firm deadline. He will wait for countries to come to him with some great offers, and he will ensure that he negotiates a deal with them. So what was the hurry really? Because we are in the middle of negotiating a deal. Remember just a few days ago, Indian team was in Washington, D.C. Next week, a team from America is expected to visit India so that this deal is finalized. Right. And just ahead of that, this bomb, this tariff bomb that Trump has dropped, we'll have to see how the Indian government responds now.
Well, absolutely. Of course, many would say nothing new in it. After all, he has been hitting hard at the BRICS nations because, well, diplomatically as well as economically, it does not align with Trump's ideology, which of course is that of MAGA. In fact, let me go across and now I'm going to take you across and show you how Trump has been targeting many of the other nations as well. This is not the only one, of course. For example, here you have it on the big screen. Let me tell you all the other nations which have seen such tariffs, many have called irrational tariffs from United States. You have from the 1st of August, Laos, which is going to be facing 40% tariff. There is Cambodia, which is going to get 36% tariff imposed on it. Thailand gets 36% tariff imposed on it as well. And India now, as per him, is going to get 25 plus. Bangladesh is also facing 35 plus percent tariff, which is going to be imposed. Then you have Serbia, which is also facing 35% US tariff. Indonesia gets 32% tariff. It's important for us to point out, Trump has said India is going to face a tariff of 25% plus a penalty. Penalty could be anywhere from 5 to 10. There are many says it may come down to a hold of 35%. We don't know anything. But what's important right now is that after this statement which has come in by Donald Trump, what happens next? Has India said anything? Let's tell you how External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has met the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal in Parliament after Trump's tariff bombshell, and perhaps the Modi Sarkar has now gone into a huddle to figure out what next. What next is going to be the big question. Remember, why is India being penalized in this manner? It is because of the imports that we have seen coming in of the energy imports that India takes from Russia. Let me go across to Pragya till then. Pragya, we of course know that the two mantris have gone into a huddle right now. What's happening? What's going to be their next move? It's almost like the so-called ceasefire, which Trump has unanimously announced on Truth Social, and this seems to be a deja vu moment. Another unanimous announcement coming in from Trump about a trade deal between two nations when the other nation clearly is not in the same page.
Absolutely, and what we gathered from the sources, and we have seen Mr. S. Jaishankar has met Piyush Goyal, who is a Union Commerce Minister. Obviously, it is a matter of concern, but they are yet to read and analyze what exactly has gone into this particular deal, which sectors are being impacted. All of that will be worked out once they read through the the detailed, in fact, tariff document. In fact, and it looks like that there is some sort of concern in the government. But overall, when they analyze it, only then they will be able to tell which sectors are benefiting and which sectors are going down. In fact, the trade will be hit in which sectors as well. Despite they have announced that there is an intent for a bilateral trade agreement between US and India, the two countries have been deliberating and negotiating on this tariff particular trade deal. It was an interim deal. In fact, very recently, a delegation had gone to US to work out these trade deal. In fact, I would say that the government had some kind of inclination that it may not be that well in favor of India, but they were quite hopeful that things may change. You never know when it comes to Donald Trump. So, but it looks like that things have not been that good because the penalty will be imposed. We are also part of the BRIC nation, and these penalties are going to be imposed since August 1, which is the original deadline that is going to take place. In August, US team has also visited India. So we were thinking that there's some sort of, relaxation and some sort of clarity on part of the interim trade deal that we were having with US will be worked out in favor of India. But the kind of language that has been written by Mr. Donald Trump, it looks like that not much respite have been given despite the many rounds of 5 rounds of negotiations, I would say.
Absolutely. Pragya, do stay on with us as well as Hina. It's important for us to break it down as to the reasons why Trump not only wants to impose 25%, and I'm saying wants to because we are still waiting for a confirmation to come in from our government as to where the negotiations really stand, but it's important for us to understand the why of it. So let's look at the bone of contention here, which of course is Russian imports in India. In fact, here are the figures which really speak for itself. Look at India's energy imports from Russia. It is 2021 to 2022, it was about 2.1%. Then huge jump between 2021-22 to a 35.1%. Now this image, this is the important figure for you to look at. What essentially happened was after the war, Russia agreed to give subsidized oil to India, which is what has rankled the West. That this could have been used as a negotiating chip against India, negotiating chip against Russia to try and end the war. So let me go across to Ajay Dua, the former Secretary, Ministry of Commerce, as well as Siddharth Sharma, who's joining us, a financial expert. Ajay Dua, I'd like to come to you. Now, we all know there have been months of negotiations which have been led by some of the senior most leaders of the Modi Sarkar. There have been 4 or 5 such delegation level talks which have happened. But suddenly comes this announcement. How does this work? For example, if we contrast it, Ajay Dua, with the FTA, which took over 3 years to sign, to finalize about 12-13 rounds of negotiations, and then this happens. What really is the process? Is there a procedure?
Thank you very much for getting me into this discussion. I'm surprised that when we are about to be finalizing our bilateral trade agreement, at least the short-term agreement, if not the entire one, comes this announcement from President Trump that we are being taxed, at 25% on all our exports to the US, and along with that, there could be a penalty because we are importing oil from Russia. So there are two separate things I'd like to make out. He's come to the conclusion that India needs to be, the duty on the Indian imports into the US should be a flat 25%, which for us means 10% original surcharge, plus 15% now. I hope it is that, and it is not 10 plus 25, because from the tenor of the tweet which the president has put out, it's not entirely clear. But I think it will turn out to be 25% in aggregate. I think the president is feeling peeved about a lot of things, a lot of matters about India, and one could easily be are kind of not confirming that he had mediated in the dispute and the war when it was going on between Pakistan and India, whereas Pakistan, on the other hand, has had a clear kind of a statement and attributed the stoppage of the war to President.
So essentially, if things don't go Trump's way, he is going to do this economically, financially, go after certain countries, which we've seen in the past as well, and all for diplomacy, or is it all business for him? That's the problem, Siddharth Sharma. The fallout of something like this, unanimous decision that India now will face 25% tariff plus penalty, which he is not specified. We've not seen a legal document. We've not seen any signatures, no pact so far. How should India be even viewing something like this, a unanimous decision being announced?
Well, I personally find that it is a huge dent on the diplomacy between the two countries, and especially between the two countries which are such, emerging powers, and that too, the deal of such a size where, we were expecting that there would be a free trade agreement where, the US and India would have certain things in common, and we would be the least impacted person into the entire group. But unfortunately, the way the things have turned up, we have to analyze it from two aspects. One is the 25% of the trade, the tariff which has been imposed on India, and second is the penalty which is imposed over India for importing the crude oil from Russia. These clearly two aspects which has come up is really non-synchronous to the diplomacy of any nation, because 25% of the trade tariffs with India primarily will definitely hurt the exports of India. But just as coming back to the point, when the first trade agreement and when the first trade tariffs was being put on India, India's exports to US is not that much, as a result of which I personally find that will not hurt the Indian economy and GDP to that extent. But yes, of course, it is definitely a dent on the Indian diplomacy with United States, and that too, it's not on the consensual basis. It's just what I would say. It's a unilateral direction of statements and embargoes which have been put against India. This clearly is going against the ethics of a bilateral and a consensual discussions between both the countries, and especially when you penalize a country for importing an oil is specifically against the foreign diplomacy, because Indian diplomacy with Russia goes it has nothing to do with Indian diplomacy with US for that cause. And just as Sir has rightly said that during Indo-Pak war, it was basically it was basically the tussle between these two countries, and any other nation jumping into this war would basically make it more furious. So in the similar manner, I really do not find any logic to the statement of putting penalties against India for buying oil from Russia, because ultimately we should not forget that Russia had been one of the biggest friends of India.
Absolutely, you're right about that. One quick word from Hina, and we don't have much time. MAGA is what Trump has put. What he forgets, it's also about MEGA, as has been said. India will always go by what is in the best interests of India, be it at the time of the ceasefire, Sindoor, or even now a trade pact.
That's right. Even though Donald Trump has got this my way or the highway approach, when it comes to India, we've made our position absolutely clear. As you know, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal a couple of days ago only said that we don't negotiate with deadlines in mind. We keep national interest first. And similarly, like you correctly quoted the example of India-UK FTA, that also took about 3 years and about 13 to 14 rounds of negotiations. One very quick point that I would like to make, Meghna, here also is this Russia angle. Just a couple of days ago, in fact, a US Senator, Lindsey Graham, had in fact threatened in an interview to a news channel, he had threatened to crush the Indian economy if India continues to purchase the Russian oil. In fact, he had quoted 3 countries, India, China and Brazil, how these 3 countries together account for about 80% of oil that is bought from Russia. And he had in fact warned them that if you do not stop this, then be prepared for high tariff from Trump. And that's
something that Trump has been saying as well, that BRICS nations are going to be punished for not putting additional pressure on Russia. But if you look at the crude oil imports of India, you'll understand that keeping India great is going to be India's forte. India has in the past, something that Piyush Goyal has also said, will not bow down to any threats or any deadlines. We will continue to do what is best in India's interest. We'll have to wait and see how the government responds to this. Thank you so much, Ajay Dua, for joining us, as well as Siddharth Sharma and Hina Gambhir. Without a short break, stay tuned.